Hi everybody, welcome once again to Out of the Ordinary into the Extraordinary. I'm Robert Taylor, coming to you on WMTV.
And I'm Pamela Taylor, and as always, we bring you guests who uplift, enlighten, inspire, heal, entertain, educate.
Yeah, we've got some great healers on the show today. A married couple from Sterling Heights, and they are Access Consciousness Bars facilitators. Gives us great pleasure to welcome to the show Dave and Gail Miller. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for being
Yeah.
here.
Thank you for having
Good to be
us.
here.
You've got to explain what that is. Access Consciousness Bars facilitator.
Yes. Well, Access Consciousness is a whole world really that you would be opening yourself up to. And we teach the very beginning class into that world, which is called Access Bars. And really, the bars are all these different points on the head that relate to all the different aspects of life. As you can see, there's form and structure, money, which everyone wants to open up to more of that, control, creativity,
Communication.
It also helps. Basically, what we're doing when we work with these points on the head and just gently touching them, you automatically start releasing old files that you no longer need anymore. And so it clears out the stuff. And then what that leads to is you actually start letting go of like patterns that have been bothering you.
Holding you back.
Yeah, those things that have been holding you back.
It starts to create more space in your being so that you can have more access to your awareness. Instead of getting clogged up in your thinking mind, you get to talk, communicate with your awareness and your consciousness. And that's why they call it Access Consciousness. So.
Dave, you were comparing this to, before the show, to a computer.
Yeah, it's like when we run the bars, it's like defragging your hard drive. You know, so every once in a while your computer hard drive needs to be defragged. Well, our brains, our minds, our beings need to be defragged and get rid of the stuff that doesn't work for us anymore.
And we are kind of walking around in a pretty heavy-duty fog, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot
Just
of us
accumulation over the years and years. Is that why when you get older, we run slower? I got to know this. I got to. It's like a computer, and you're getting older, and you got more stuff in there.
Well, there's all this stuff that we carry around and we pick up because
baggage.
We don't realize, but we're all like 90% of the thoughts that come into our minds, our thoughts, our feelings, emotions, don't even belong to us because we're all super psychic beings. And so,
Constantly
we're picking up all this stuff, and there's some of the bars. One of the bars called the implant bands is right behind the ears here, where the head connects to the neck, and that's where any thoughts, feelings, emotions, points of view, conclusions, and judgments are implanted in you from time of birth and even thousands of lifetimes before. So when we start running the implant bands, it helps to release a lot of that information that's holding you back and creating limitations.
It's creating fear, and you don't know why, because it's this stuff, old baggage.
Or you
that makes
took on
total
a
sense.
suggestion from someone, when you were a kid, and you're just carrying that. It might, a lot of these programs really don't work for us. So the implant band, which is right back here, is the one that's usually run the longest. It needs to be run longer because of all the implanting that's been done
over the years,
of these ideas that don't really work for us anymore. So the really nice thing about having your bars run is it opens up your receiving, because you're making room
right,
for more.
Yeah, right.
And then it allows you to access your true essence, like who you really are, instead of that other way. And so you start really looking at life in a different way. You start seeing things that you didn't see before. So the more that you get your bars run, Gary, the founder of Access, and Dane, the co-founder, they run their bars like every day. Of course, they're doing seminars all the time.
Yeah.
So
they would be all these people.
Yeah, they're doing constant processing, so they have to. They have to, because you can kind of feel them fill up as you get used to, the emptying out.
Well, as you become aware of
what's
going on,
more
and
aware.
you become aware of that this is happening. This process is happening.
And the reason the bars is the first class, because in the other classes, like Foundation and Level 1 and Levels 2 and 3, you do a lot of verbal processing, but part of that is that, you know, they tell you, go get your bars run while the class is going on, because you're dissipating so much electrical charge around the polarities around all these different points of view that are being released through the verbal processing that you need to get your bars run. Otherwise, you know, you feel like when you're in, they say when you're in the workshop and you start to feel like, you know, you're going to pass out or your head's going to explode, go get your bars run.
We
Like you're on overload.
We mentioned the founders. Maybe you can tell a little bit about the founders and how they came up with this whole process.
Yes.
Well, they've been around for like 23 years, and we just found them in 2011. But he started getting this information about the bars, the points on the head, and he started practicing on people he knew. And he didn't really...
This is back in the 90s.
This is back in the 90s. And
who was that?
Gary Douglas.
Gary Douglas.
Gary is the founder.
Yeah, and then Dr. Dane here came on board in 2000 after he had an experience with the bars and started to really grow with the Access information.
Is he a medical doctor or?
He's a chiropractor who studied network chiropractic, and his story was basically he was ready to like kill himself. He said he even picked out the date, and then he saw this ad, all of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. And the first time he came up with the ad, or saw the ad, he crumpled it up and says, I'll give you ease, joy, and glory. You know. But eventually, you know, he picked it up another time, and he went and
he got his bars
run, and then got introduced to Gary. And Gary came to him for some sessions. And he says, well, how are you at the third level, you know, of the network chiropractic? And Dane says, well, you know, Dane said to himself, he says, I don't really know it that well. He says, well, yeah, I can. He says, I haven't done it before. And Gary says, yeah, just go ahead and you'll just feel the energy and whatnot. So that was kind of the beginning of the energetic synthesis of being part that Dane does.
So what are they exactly? What would you define as a bar?
Well, these are the bars. They're bars on the head because they go all the way across.
Just as they're illustrated
back.
here.
Yeah, you can't exactly. Well, here you can kind of see the bars a little bit better. Why they call them bars? See how they go all the way
pull
back.
up the still, maybe we can do still. There we go, where it's on.
Yeah, when you touch them, bars of energy run back and forth, and it helps to clear out stuff that's not.
Oh, okay. So in other words, from left temple to right temple.
Yeah, or back and forth.
Or back and
they're
forth.
on both sides.
Or either or. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm running bars on somebody, I kind of play with it and feel it go back and forth, or you know, entertain myself.
So as a practitioner, you can actually feel this intuitively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
and
amazing.
some people, they don't necessarily feel it at first, and Dane says, give it time. Says you might need to do it 10 or 20 times before you actually start to feel something. So I was lucky. I started feeling it right away.
Wow.
And then there's some, another still, I think it's page 1, would also demonstrate energy poles, power band, implant band.
Yeah,
that's the actual chart there that we give you when you come to the bars class.
Okay. To explain what's going on.
So that you know what to do. And when you come to the bars class, which we teach in our home, you learn all of the bars and you practice. You get to receive them twice during the class. Most of the day you're on the tables because it's experiential. We want you to experience it.
Sure.
We want you to know what you're doing when you're done. At the end of the day, you get to go home and you know how to run the bars on someone. You do have to keep practicing, though. But this is the bars, and you know we also show a video, just a short video, where you get to see the founders in the beginning of the class running the bars. So you'll see that demonstration before you get on the tables, and then you get on the tables, and you're on the tables all day long.
Wow.
Either on the table or giving.
Quite comprehensive.
So,
and if you are working the bars on somebody, and they have the similar issues to yours, as the bar's giver, you are also receiving, or it's also clearing that stuff for you.
Kind of sounds like the Reiki.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they often, the practitioners often say that they're receiving healing as they're healing.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
It's channeling
Pe-
that information.
yeah, people from
Yeah.
different healing modalities say that, so that's,
Yeah.
that's a bonus. That's wonderful.
Yeah, and then they say if you have an issue with someone and they happen to be, available to run the bars, those are the people you should have run your bars.
Yeah, yeah. Gary
So
says.
you can clear the issue.
Probably the very people you would
Person that
not
you
want
really
to.
don't want.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
Gary
that's
says
what
that-
you need then.
Gary
That's
says
what
that
you
there's
need.
somebody that annoys you, that's the person you want to run bars on.
That's
But you
the
don't
issue.
tell them that.
Well, listen, we have a married couple with us here, so
Yes, we do run each other's bars. Yes, we do. And that's why we're still together.
yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
we-
how did you guys get into this together? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes.
Well, I was diagnosed with cancer, colon cancer, in October or November of 2010, and so we were looking at all kinds of alternative stuff. We've done a lot of alternative stuff in the past, reconnective healing and Reiki and whatnot. And so we got this book, and they talked about different components, and one of them was the emotional component. So in there, they mentioned the emotion code, which I, got the book, I downloaded it on my Kindle and read through it, found a local practitioner and going, yeah, this is okay. But Gail received in the email a link to a bunch of recordings of this lady doing these wacky statements, and they're called clearing statements. And she downloads says, you got to listen to this. You got to listen to this.
Yeah, I found her actually on a conference call, I think, a bars facilitator with Access. And she kept saying the clearing statement that we teach you in the class. It's right, wrong, good, bad, pot, pock, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. It sounds like a different language. And she flies through that when she says it. But what that statement does is it clears energy. So you ask a question to bring up the energy. In Access, we do a lot of those types of processes where we're asking questions. But those are the classes after the bars. But anyway, I was
So
listening.
you clear the bars first.
Yeah.
And then,
First, you got to learn bars because
Yeah.
that's the most important, because you got to have your bars run while this other processing is going on in the other seminars. You're on the table in the back of the room while you're in seminar.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, getting back to the story, how we got involved, Rika was a facilitator that I came across on a conference call, and she was saying the statement, and she was so bubbly and just full of energy. And I told David, I said, you have to listen to this girl. I don't know what she's saying, but it's drawing me in. The energy was just,
And just listening to the clearing statements,
Like mantra,
I
the
could feel
power
a
of a
shift,
mantra.
a whole
Yeah.
shift in the energy of my being.
So did you find that helped with that's a very serious condition
Yeah.
to be diagnosed with. Did you find that this all helped with that?
Oh, yeah, that and everything else.
Everything else,
We
the
did a lot.
modalities
Yeah. Did a lot
that
of
you did.
different
we did a
things.
lot
Yeah.
of alternative
So,
care
and
therapy
the-
for him. But
I did end up with surgery, but my doctor says I'm telling your story. The cancer actually shrunk.
Yeah.
And,
Well, there's
and
proof of that, yeah.
There was no spread or anything. There was no need for
excellent.
chemo or radiation.
Fantastic.
So,
That's amazing.
so it was just an amazing
But what we found out, is that most disease is 80% emotional.
Yeah, it's
Okay, that's the basis of it is really that much emotional. So with Access, you can clear a lot of those the programming, right? That's no longer working for you.
Right.
And I have experienced that in many relationships, clearings that happen, not right away, but as you are committed to doing this process.
It's like a lot of healing things.
Yes.
That you really feel it a little later. You got to let it settle in.
Well, you keep doing it.
Yeah, and do.
This is what we recommend.
It's
You
cumulative.
come and you bring
Cumulative.
someone to the class with you that you know that you either live together
Yeah.
as a couple or as partners, or you have someone who lives geographically close to you, so that's convenient for you to set time aside every week
Right.
to have these bars run. It's a wonderful way to nurture yourself and to receive, because that's really the whole purpose of this therapy, is to open up your receiving, your awareness, to be able to access the true essence of who you are versus all of this other
people's
that's been
idea of
happening.
what
What
you
are
are.
they call conditioning?
Conditioning. So
Well,
you're
we're gonna go to fade and come back up
With a
and
demo.
As usual, Pamela is going to be the guinea pig.
Yes.
Don't go away. So we're back, everybody, with our Access Consciousness facilitators, Dave and Gail Miller. And we have Pamela right here, is going to experience getting debarred.
Debarred.
Yeah, they're going to debar you once and for all. So we were talking about the one of the originators,
yeah,
the founders.
Dr. Dane here. Yeah,
he's still around.
Yeah, he's still around. He's said his first bar session, basically say the worst you'll feel is like a good massage, and the best you'll feel is your whole life will change.
Wow.
And so he says, my God, did my life change? And so now he's the co-founder of Access Consciousness now. And
so he went from very dark consciousness.
Right.
Ready to go.
You're ready to leave. He just couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And it wasn't that he was impoverished or anything like that. He was a chiropractor.
Chiropractor. He had a good practice
others.
going.
Yeah. Wow. So he had a lot of stuff that he hadn't dealt with.
Oh, yeah.
And he had tried a lot of things before he found this bars facilitator ad, and the ad said, how would you like to have a life of greater ease, joy, and glory? And that's what caught him.
Yeah.
We use that mantra a lot in
All
Access.
of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory.
Wow.
That's the mantra.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be nice.
So
Especially for everybody else on the planet.
Yeah, Gail's going to start by doing energy pulls.
This is how you start the bars. You just do some energy pulls first. There's 3 of them before you actually go to the bars, just to make sure the energy is moving.
It's very relaxing so far.
Yeah. And this one's right under the ball of the feet. And I'm just kind of pulling the energy with my intention through her body up into my hands and out my crown.
So, again, I'm reminded of Reiki. Yeah. So, you don't get any kind of negative stuff running through you if you're working with somebody. That would be important.
No.
Yeah, you're not taking on somebody else's stuff.
No.
Right.
Just helping them to run through
We're
it.
just helping them. We're helping you to release.
Yeah, the energy is different. There's subtle differences in the energy between Reiki and in this.
Yeah.
As a male, I can actually feel this too, which is, I think, unusual for males. And so, as a result of feeling this, you can feel the subtle differences. I've had Reiki before I trained in it, and this,
and you can put your hands down and keep those separate.
There's subtle differences. Okay, the reason the person on the table has to keep their hands separated is if they're put together, it'll short circuit the energy. So if you're running somebody's bars, and all of a sudden you feel the energy drop down, look at their hands. If their hands are together, it's basically dropped down.
So how do you get trained? How do you get trained to do this? You two guys now are both facilitators.
We also run trainings.
Yeah.
Once a month we do a training, and then twice a month we have what we call bars gifting and receiving, where people who've learned the bars can come and trade with one another, and that way you can get to experience the bars if you don't have somebody who lives close to you.
Yeah.
But we always recommend that if you know somebody that lives close to you, that you come to the class together, and then you go, and then you can trade anytime you want, anytime you need the bars. So Gail's running the implant bands right now, and what that does is it helps to dissipate energy that has been stored there, any kind of points of view, conclusions, judgments. It helps to release that. Anything that's been implanted in you from time of birth and before.
Wow.
So like if your parents used to say something like, what do you think, money grows on trees? You start to develop attitudes, and those are implants around money that we don't need.
Right.
And there's actually a separate bar for money, control, and creativity. And so when you run that, you start to clear up issues that somebody's having around money.
And that's up here above the ear. We have money, control, creativity. And I do the bars on both sides, because the bar actually runs across the head. This one does, but there's all kinds of bars. They run up and down and across. So, but money control, creativity, those we run together, and that'll help to release all those programs about money, that are keeping it from you.
Ooh.
So,
now, are these bars connected to the brain? Is there any brain connection?
well, how would you explain that, Hen?
I would say, well, it's the mind. In Access, they say the mind is a terrible thing. Waste it. Because our thinking is thinking, and it gets in the way of us being in touch with our awareness.
Yeah.
And so if we get the thinking out of the way, we get into our knowing. And once we're in our knowing, we're truly connected to the infinite being that we are. And that's what Access is about, is really empowering you to know that you know.
In the East, consciousness is the stuff of the soul, is what they say. Consciousness is the energy of the soul.
Right.
Is there any kind of metaphysical connotation in this tradition?
I can make correlations between it, but they don't really talk about it in Access.
Okay.
Because it really takes away with, empowerment. So, I mean, it's really, we're all infinite beings. So, and one of the 10 keys is, would an infinite being truly choose this? So it's a question you can ask yourself. Access really revolves around questions. And when you have questions, you can create possibilities. When you have the answer, it's a fixed point of view, and it's created a limitation.
Yeah.
So if you stay in the question, you open up the energy for more possibilities, and more contribution, and it's just...
Right. So the what else is possible is one of our favorite questions that we use, like when we get into that situation, that's irritating us or whatever, instead of going into the frustration, you go into, well, what else is possible? And stay out of the conclusion that we, have a tendency to do.
or how does it get any better than this?
How does it get any better is another one, yeah.
Yeah, if something good happens to you, you say, how does it get any better than this?
Yeah.
And if something not so good happens to you, you say, how does it get any better than this? And the universe is responding to your questions. It's just waiting for you to ask. Ask and you shall receive.
So it's a better thing to ask than say, I can talk while we're doing this, can I?
Yes,
Yeah.
you can.
It's better to say than say, oh, can the day get any worse? Like people are wont to say.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's much
the
better.
thing not to do, yes.
Yeah, how does it get any better
Yeah.
than
Correct.
this?
Yeah, how does it get any better than this?
But we have to say, people find themselves in absolutely horrendous situations.
Yeah. Well, your point of view, in Access, your point of view creates your reality. And we think it's the other way around. You think reality happens to us. And once you start along that lines, if something happens to you, then you're disempowered. So if your point of view creates your reality, then you change your point of view, you change your reality.
Yeah. Now, in your personal case with the colon cancer,
Yeah.
somebody who say would be today faced with a horrible diagnosis, how would you tell them to go about handling that with both the bars and their attitude?
Well, the bars definitely shifts your attitude and helps, you open up for more possibilities. Once we start to realize the infinite being we truly are, and I've been through a lot of metaphysical stuff over the years,
Right.
and they tell you this stuff, and you go, yeah, sure, okay.
Yeah.
But, in doing Access, I really get it. Really
Yeah,
get that,
yeah.
I'm an infinite being. We're all infinite beings, and we can choose something different.
Yeah.
So.
In the Vedas they say the soul is 1,000 times more powerful than the sun. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So we are really very limited to what we can, could be, right?
Yeah.
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 We've
And once
become
we
very-
start to get these limitations out of us, we can start to grow and explore more possibilities.
So, in terms of an individual, there is some endeavor you have to make yourself. It's not you just lying here on the table and someone's removing that.
It's not?
Isn't it?
Well, the bars is really that easy. It really is. Just, allowing yourself to receive on a regular basis. Like I was saying, if you do it every week and you make a commitment, you're going to really start seeing results.
Yeah.
And the results are, in my world, that several relationship things that were bothering me they just got worked out, like with the grace of God. I
Wow.
don't know. You just have to kind of go through the experience, I guess. But we call it access Tourette's. That when this thing happens where all of a sudden you're with that person who, has been annoying you or has been, really in your face, bringing up your stuff and triggering you, and all of a sudden I'm in front of her, like apologizing to her, and she says, "Oh no, I was much worse," and you're
Wow.
right.
Yeah. Can I?
So.
What you're running right now, or Gail's
This is
running
the
right now,
aging
is the
toaster.
aging toaster, and it has to do with all the considerations and points of view and conclusions we have around aging. Because people tell you, oh, when we hit a certain age.
Yeah, yeah.
Remember the Wayne Dyer story? He says he's running across the park to meet his wife, and he jumps over this fence, and she goes, "You can't jump over that fence. You're 55 years old." He says, "Oh, I forgot."
Hey, I was
So
just
it's
playing
like-
soccer with my grandchildren.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, we've come to the end of the show.
Yeah.
Want to thank you for joining us, and verbally tell us where people can get a hold of you if they want to experience this.
Okay, they can find us at www.crystalgale.com, and you can sign up for a free report, the 9.5 powerful questions that will change your life.
Wow.
And find out more about, we have our classes posted online there, and we also have, our twice a month bars gifting and receiving. So.
And you're right there in Sterling Heights, not far away.
Yes.
Maybe
Right.
about half
16
an hour
in Van
drive.
Dyke
16
area.
in Van Dyke.
Yeah.
So we want to thank Dave and Gail Miller for joining us and letting us
Yes.
experience this. Pamela's going to be a totally transformed person as she gets up off of this beautiful
I'm sure
working
it will
table.
help,
And we
absolutely.
want to thank all of you for joining us on Out of the Ordinary into the Extraordinary. Don't forget.
God is alive and magic is afoot.
Thank you.
Thank you.